NBA draft last night. The freshman phenom out of Duke is heading to New Orleans. He's been the presumptive #1 overall pick for months, but he was still emotional after his name was called.
I don't even seem real that I just shook his hand. I dreamed about this since I was 4. And for it to actually happen, I just thank God for it.
Look, this is not somebody who's supposed to be the savior of this franchise. That's not what this is. This is a 19-year-old kid who's going to spend this year learning how to play winning NBA basketball. And everything that we're doing from now until the end of our time here as a franchise is going to be about long-term sustainable success. This is Drew Holiday's team. Zion is going to be part of learning how to win at a really high level. And at some point, if there's a time that the baton gets passed in terms of who's expected to carry us to win games, it will.
Vince, special to see, of course, Zion's reaction, but what was your reaction to David Griffin's comments?
I thought it was measured. And the most important thing, when you take a pick like Zion Williamson, that's the pick that's going to define David Griffin's tenure in New Orleans for however long he's there. And I talk to executives all the time about how much pressure you put on #1 picks, whether they're the Zion type or just random top 10 guys who you're coming in to expect to help a lottery team. And the #1 thing they always talk about is, look, the pedigree of a guy like that. Zion Williamson is not a LeBron James who was the #1 player in his class from the point he was in basically 8th or 9th grade. And you have to deal with that attention for 4 or 5 years. Zion Williamson wasn't even the #1 player out of his high school class. That was R.J. Barrett.
Right, which means he wasn't the #1 recruit on Duke last year. In fact,
he just showed up.
Right, it was R.J., Cam, Zion.
He just showed up. So to put all of that on him, and look, this is not a traditional bad franchise. Like a year ago, New Orleans was in the 2nd round of the playoffs, and granted, Anthony Davis was there, and granted, Rajon Rondo and Boogie Cousins that helped them get to a certain point there. But this is not a bare bones, we have no talent, we have no hope situation. You have the same coach. You still have Drew Holiday there. You get some of these young guys from the Lakers there to share into that burden. So why add that onto him when he's 19 years old? I think sometimes we forget these guys are really, really young, and sometimes they don't know how to handle that pressure and attention. Maybe inside, you know, David Griffin says, hey, you're going to have to be the star. You're going to have to elevate your game. But out to the outside world, I think that's a very smart play for him not to do that.
Within the first 30 days when we drafted Randy Moss, I knew he was going to be special. And I had told him privately, I thought by the time I retired, I thought I'd play 4 more years. By the time I retired, I thought he would be the best wide receiver in the game. I told him that. And I said, my goal is not only to get you to that point, but if I get you to that point, then you'll be the highest paid. Now, when I came to Minneapolis and the media asked me, I was measured as far as my comments. You know, he's got a lot of, man, it's a big jump from Marshall. Man, the game moves a lot quicker. How's he going to be on bump and run? But I had flown in a couple DBs down to Florida that Randy had toasted them. I mean, accomplished defensive backs. So we had confidence, but I wasn't going to let that out. So then the first game when he goes off against Tampa Bay, gets 2 touchdowns and everything, people are like, wow, Chris, did you surprised? No. So I think once he starts playing the Pelicans and David Griffin, they'll be like, no, this is what he expected. But the measured words are very, very important because it's about expectations. And they have to be able to manage those expectations to put him in a situation that he can develop. There is no player in the NBA like Zion right now. So they have to try to fit him in to a winning formula. Man, take care of his body. Make sure he plays the right amount of minutes. And I think that, man, he's in such good hands. Man, he is so fortunate that he has an organizational support. I believe in institutional support. That's the way you get to success. It's not just about talent. It's about the supporting cast.
I'm thrilled the Knicks didn't win the lottery. Not because I don't think the Knicks are a good franchise, but because I think the Knicks got this max cap space. Obviously, if Durant hadn't gotten hurt, I thought they were going to be a contender next season. I don't want Zion in that crucible. I wouldn't want him in LA with LeBron neither. I want him exactly where he is, where he can have a similar trajectory as Trae Young last year. Trae, we only talked about Trae when he played well. we left him totally alone when he played poorly. We know all about Trey's double 40 in 10 games. We don't know so much about his 3 for 18 games because that's part of the process, but the expectations weren't that Atlanta was all of a sudden going to be contending. Now, New Orleans is a better team set up now than Atlanta was with Trae Young last year. Drew Holiday is a fringe all-star level player. Ingram and Ball, even if they're disappointing number 2 overall picks, they're legitimate NBA rotation guys. They've done things the right way in that regard.
I would say they're legitimate NBA starters.
Yeah.
Like they have proven that they deserve to be starters out there, and they've been through little stuff themselves that's only going to help Zion.
Help Zion. But I mean, when you watch these, when you were talking, I promise I was listening, but I was a little distracted because I was watching these Zion highlights. Man, I've never seen a guy like this.
That's who Randy Moss was.
Right. 100%. You've never seen a guy, what is he, almost 6'6", runs a 4.2-ish with a 40-inch vertical. That human being's not supposed to exist. This human being has never existed. Don't tell me I didn't watch Rodney Rogers. No. This guy has never existed. A guy of this build, this explosiveness, these instincts defensively, and as far as the second jump you talk about, the first step, that translates. So it is important for David Griffin to not do what Magic did to Lonzo, which is say you're gonna hang his jersey in the rafters, even though you damn sure better be hanging Zion's jersey in the rafters when it's all said and done, or somebody screwed something up. He left because something bad happened, or he didn't reach even half of his full potential. But I couldn't be more excited to watch this guy, and on a team that I think will be good-ish. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to win 18 games.
No.
I think there'll be a 35-ish win team in the West and play at a fast pace, and they will allow Zion to do what he does great in the games and work on what he needs to work on in practices, which is if you were on a team trying to win right now, then you can't spend time working on what he's not good at. It's just do what you are good at. It's one of the things that I think's hurt Ben Simmons. Since he's been playing, the Sixers been like, we can win right now. So you can't spend time with him working through things in games because you need him to win right now. That's not going to be the situation with Zion.
So in adding the motor and the disposition and everything we see off the court, but Vince, how do you factor Alvin Gentry into this? Because we've talked so much about David Griffin and the great hands he's in with him and running the show, in the team, and the way the roster looks. Where do you see Alvin Gentry's place in this, in just the capabilities that he has and what he's already shown?
Well, look, the roster is going to dictate that you're supposed to play fast, right? When you have Lonzo, when you have Drew Holiday, when you have these guys who aren't necessarily going to excel in set offense, and then you have a guy like Alvin Gentry who's a mastermind at that, I think he's in the best possible situation. When you think about the fact that his jump shot is a set shot, when you think about he's best in the open floor and playing with pace, all right, cool. Lonzo Ball, just run. Drew Holiday, just run. So that way you don't have to worry about his weaknesses holding him back so soon. We won't get to analyzing Zion's weaknesses holding him back for another 2 or 3 years. We know exactly what they are. We're not going to hold him to the carpet, and he's not playing in a situation where the pressure is on him to play perfect to win. And if you're New Orleans, here's the other part of it. Chris Paul's your franchise player. It wasn't good enough. He left. Anthony Davis, franchise player. Not good enough. You don't want to put that pressure on Zion to have to replace the sins of the organization from previous decades, regimes, and players who said that New Orleans was not good enough or the franchise and organization was not good enough for him. You don't want that.
And no matter, he could reach his full potential, and if you don't build right around him, it won't be good enough. LeBron reached his full potential and had to leave because the franchise was not good enough. You've got to build it right. That's why I'm so happy Griff's there.
And we have to remember this. Griff wasn't with LeBron the first time.
No.
All right? He got a more mature LeBron. So Griff's job now is, how do I get Zion to the moment when I met LeBron? That would be a success.
All right, Ben, stick around. We are coming back with some good stuff that you can rile Nick up with. Why the Lakers could make an unexpected move in free agency. That's coming up next on First Things First.
I think Nick's hair has grown since 6:30.
Oh, my God.